Hi guys, in this video I'm going to continue talking about how to transpose data in a pivot table using a faster method than using loops. I put up a video that showed how to transpose data using loops, and now I'm going to show you how to do that faster using copy. So before we do that, go to Excel, VBA, SQL, and watch a lot of videos, learn a lot of stuff. I'll put your email in here and you'll get notified when new videos go up. So what is the problem here? The problem is we are given, and this is all we're given, is data that looks like this. It looks like a pivot table. And that's all we're given, and someone tells us, I don't want the data to look like this. I want it to look like this, traditional Excel format with columns and rows. So what is the data that we want to use? What is the data that we're using here? We're using 5 pieces of data. A symbol. Oh, by the way, this is consider this as a portfolio of stocks. And here's the name of the stock. Here's the symbol of the stock. Here's a number of shares. Here is the date for those number of shares. So the next day you might change the number of shares. And these dates go out like 50 columns or 100 columns or so. So basically you have a portfolio of stocks and a list of dates for those stocks and the number of shares for those dates. And the portfolio has a name. So it's basically 5 pieces of information. A symbol, security name, number of shares, the date. There's 4 pieces of information. And the last piece of information is the portfolio name. So we want to take these 5 pieces of information, symbol, security name, shares, date, and portfolio name, and want to transpose that data onto this worksheet like this, so that for every date for security A, we have the number of shares, and we also list the symbol and portfolio name. So what are we doing? What we're doing essentially is taking this row of data along with the date along with the corresponding date and the portfolio name, and we're putting it on the worksheet here. And then we're doing that for all the security names. If I scroll down, down here we have security name T, and there's the number of shares, and there's the symbol and the date. So if I go back to the portfolio tab, here's security T, here's the symbol, here's the shares and everything. So we're doing this for all these rows, not just for A. We want to do that for all these rows. We want to take these pieces of data and transpose them into traditional Excel format, rows and columns. So I put up a video that shows you how to do that using 2 loops, and that's what this tab does. You can see the data on this tab and the data on this tab are exactly the same. You could take a look at it, download the workbook. They're exactly the same, and that's because the macro that I showed you before, it does the same thing I'm going to show you now. It takes this data and transposes it. The problem is it takes a very long time. I think it took like 800 seconds. In this video, it's not going to take 800 seconds. It's going to be much faster. So how are we going to do it using the copy method? So if you don't know the other method, using 2 loops, go ahead and look at it. Watch the video, and you'll see the difference. So in this method, oh, by the way, in this workbook, I have the other method. It's called sub transpose using 2 loops. So that's what this is, and I went over this in another video, all the code. In this video, we're going to go over this sub. It's transpose using copy. So let's get into that right now. So I declared some variables up here, and I'll try to mention them as I go along what they're declared as. But let's start stepping into the code. So the first thing I do is I select this final using copy method. That's the name of the tab. I select it, and I highlight a range, or I select a range right here, active sheet range A2 to H50,000.select. So I select this range, it goes from row 2 to row 50,000. If you have more data, you could change this 50,000. And I select it, then I clear the content so that I get a blank sheet to work with. Then I go back to the portfolio tab right here, or sheet, and I declare a string variable called portfolio name, and in that variable I put range b3.value. So range b3.value is this, it says portfolio name here. And that could be anything, I just put that in there. So there's a variable called portfolio name, and let me just get this window down here. I want to put a watch on this. Let me delete these old. Just deleting some variables so we could see what's going on in memory. Okay, so let me put a watch on this portfolio name. I'm going to run this up to here. And I'm going to put a watch on these other variables. So I'm at this place in the code where I select a portfolio. I put the portfolio name into a variable. There it is in memory. Portfolio name is equal to portfolio name. Then I declare some long. These are declared as long. Xcol, xrow, dim as long. I put some values in them. This variable xrow on the final sheet, I put the number 2 in it because we need to know, what row we're going to start depositing information. So the first time through, we're going to deposit our information in row 2. That's why I set it up like that. I put row 2 in there. Okay. So now what I want to do, and what makes this code faster, is I want to go to range C6, and I want to go as right as far as possible. So if I do that, this bit of code will do that. Range C6.end XL2 right dot address. That'll give me the address of, let's see what it is. I put a watch on it. It says IU6 here with an absolute reference with the dollar signs. So what is that? That is starting at range C6. It goes all the way across. This is what the code actually does. It goes all the way across until it reaches IU6, which is right here, which is the last date in row 6. So that's cool. Now I can somehow reference that cell right there. But I want to reference the column name, IU. That's what I need, and I'll show you why I need that in a bit. But I need it. I need to get IU. So the question is, how do I get IU out of this variable? You can do that using the split function. If you use split, and then you put the variable you want to split, and then what you want to split, how that variable is delimited. So notice the variable end date range here, which is what I'm using split on, it has some dollar signs in it. So when I use split and I add a watch to it, I'll show you what it does. It breaks up the variable according to the delimiter. And the delimiter here is the dollar sign. So now I have everything that's not a dollar sign. So I have a space, and then I have IU, and then I have 6. Actually, I'm not sure why IU is shown, or I'm not sure why the space is there. I'll have to look at that, but I'll have to look at how that split actually works if it provides a space at the beginning, but it looks like it does, I guess. So all I need to know now is how do I get IU out of this? Well, that's easy. I could just do this. This bit of code, end date range array column. If I pull this element of the array, notice this is an array, and I declared it as an array. I'll just show you how I declared it. Oh, did I declare it? No, I did not declare it. So I didn't declare it, but that's kind of bad coding, but that's okay. I mean, you don't have to declare everything all the time. It's always good to do that, but I didn't declare it. Anyways, it's an array, and I want to get the first element at index number 1. So to do that, you can just do this. End date range array parentheses 1. Now you have IU. This is what I really wanted. These 3 lines of code, or these 2 lines of code, were all in an attempt to get this variable populated with IU right here. Once I have that, I can start my loop. So now this loop, do until cells x row comma 1 dot value is blank, that's going to do, this. X row has a variable, has the number 10 in it. It's going to loop down column 1 until there's a blank cell. That's what it's going to do. Loop like this. Okay. Loop down. So then I take the symbol and security name from cells x row comma 1 dot text. Notice I use dot text here instead of dot value because I want the zeros in the symbol. If I use dot value, it won't keep the zeros. So I grab those, I put them in some variables. I'll just show you what that looks like. So here they are. Here are those variables, portfolio name and A. I just put those in these variables. Or actually, no. Symbol and security name. A and 375204. So I just put these 2 bits of data into these 2 variables. Now I want to copy the dates to the final tab. So I want to take this range of dates, going all the way back to C6, and I want to copy that to this final tab. So how do I do that dynamically and programmatically? Well, to do that, I do range C6 colon, well, in quotations, range C6 colon end quotation, then the ampersand end date range. Remember, this end date range contains IU right here. Or actually, no, it doesn't. It contains IU6. So this is easy, right? When I do that, notice this line here, C6 and end date range dot select, it selects the range of dates. And how does it do that? The big thing is this end date range is dynamic, right? We got that from this line here. So we went right as far as we could. We got the address and we used it in this line here. Then I just copy that. And then I go to the final sheet. And then I check to see if row 2 is blank. If it is, I paste the data in row 2, which if it is, I want to paste the data in row 2, so I have a variable called row to paste data. It's declared as long, dim row to paste data as long. I put 2 in there. If there is something in row 2, then I use this end XL down. So you've probably seen this in other videos. It's very important to know how to use these things. End XL down, end XL right. You have to know that you can use that as long as the first cell underneath is not blank, or else it'll go to row 1,000,000. So I can't use it if row 2 is blank. That's why I have an if statement here. And it's good to know that. If there is something in row 2, then I can use this. Then I can use this line here. I can't use this line if there's nothing in row 2. So that's what this if statement's for. It's to get me this variable populated, and it has 2 in it now. And now I can do range A and row to paste data dot select. Notice what is selected, A2. That's what this line does. It selects range A2. And once I do that, I can paste what I copied. I copied the dates. Now I can paste them in, and I just pasted in the dates. Now I go back to the portfolio sheet. Here I am back on the portfolio sheet. I just pasted these dates in. And I want to do the same thing, but I want to copy the shares, right? So here's the shares starting over here, and they go all the way out to column IU6. So over here, I do the same sort of thing, only I wasn't able to use the address, up here. Right here, I was able to just get the range of dates, this range of dates, by using the address right here, right? This was the address of the last date. But down here, because my rows are going to be changing in this loop, I can't use the address because I don't want to use any dates in here. I'm dealing with shares now. I'm dealing with, if I go all the way over here, this last column, is going to be IU10, then it's going to be IU11, IU12. This is going to be the last cell for the shares, IU13, IU14, IU15, and so on. So that's why in the code you'll see I have to put the column and the row dynamic, right? Well, not dynamic, but the row is dynamic. This is just a variable with IU in it, remember? We just saw that down here. Here it is. Here's IU. I'm using that right here. So if I select range C and X row, and then I append to it this colon, and then I append to that this IU, and then I append to that the X row again, and I do dot select, what happens? I just selected what my cursor's over. C6 or C10 all the way out to IU10. And then I do selection copy, and notice now I'm going to copy that whole range. And now I go to the final sheet again, and now I'm on the final sheet, and I want to paste my data. And again, I'm using this row to paste data, which comes from up here, row to paste data. This is going to give me row 2, right? And I select it and I paste in the shares. So there's my shares, there's my dates. Well, what we just did is basically take this big date range, this big range of cells here, going all the way out, and this big range of cells here going all the way out, and we just pasted those onto the proper sheet. Now what we can do is insert the security name and the symbol. So I'm stepping through showing you there's the security name and the symbol, and we want to select that range B. We want to do basically this. We want to do that. We want to select B2 and B3, or B2 and C2, like this. And then we want to use this fill down function to populate all these cells here with that same data. So to select the range, we do range B and row to paste data, and then we do and colon C row to paste data, right? And you append using this ampersand, and you use quotations to surround the text. So notice, if you're not aware of this, when you use a range in VBA, you have to surround it in quotations. But when you use a variable in the range, you don't use quotations, you just put the variable, but you have to put a space and then this ampersand. So when I do that, I just notice I selected those two cells, and then I use this fill down function, which basically takes that same range, except it doesn't go to the row paste data anymore. It goes to cells 11 xldown.row, which is going to be the last row over here. So if I keep going down, that fill down method needs to know what is going to be the last row that I'm going to put this data in, and you could find it using this right here. Again, you're using this end xldown.row. It's very important in VBA. And once you know that row, you can use the fill down to paste all the way down, or to copy all the way down. This is in a little bit contrast to, you might have seen this. I commented this out, but originally I used selection.autofill. So I didn't have this row that I highlighted in, this fill down. Originally I didn't have that. I just had autofill, which sort of looks like this, right? You doing the same thing. Selection.autofill destination. But what happened was it was incrementing the data. So it was going 37,204, and then this cell had 37,205. Actually, I might be able to show you that. If I go back, let me just uncomment this, and I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to bring this arrow back up here, and I'm going to select those cells again. They're selected. Now I'm going to use the autofill, and notice what happened. It went 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? That's what autofill does. I don't want to do that. I want to use this fill down method, right? So that's what autofill did. It made a mistake. You know, the symbol was ended in 204, but when you use autofill, it increments it. So you have to use this fill down. So now if I bring the arrow back, you can select it again, and you could bring it down, and now everything's 204 because you used the fill down method instead. And then you do the same thing for a portfolio name. You know, you put the portfolio name in column E. So there I put the portfolio name in, and for this I just use autofill, using the same technique. You know, autofill. This function takes a parameter destination, and you put range E, row to paste data. That would be row 2, and then E cells XL down.row. So if I step through this, there you have all the data is now input, right? And now I select the first cell just so I'm back at the top, and I go back to the portfolio sheets, and now I go to the next row. So what I just did on this tab, it has all the data for this row, including the date, right? It has all this data that I highlighted, and the date and the portfolio name. Now that all that data exists in this format. So when I'm done with that row, I want to go to this row, the next one, and I do that right here. x row is equal to x row plus 1, and I just keep looping like this. And now I get a new symbol and security name. Here you can see my symbol is G, starts with G, and the security name is B, and that corresponds to the new row, row 11. And now I'm just looping, I'm just doing the same exact thing, right? I copy the dates again. Here's the dates. They're about to be copied over. Notice now I fall into this part of the if statement, the else, and my row that I'm going to paste the data uses this range a1.xldown.row plus 1. So that basically means go to cell A1 and go down as far as you can and give me the row of the last cell that has data, and then add 1 to it. So when it does that, that is going to be all the way down this column. It's going to be whatever row it is, and now I select it. So there it is. It was row 255. It's 255 because this variable right here, row to paste data, contained the variable 255 from this line right here. So that's how that works. And then I paste the dates again. So there's the dates, right? All those dates are pasted in the right position. And then I go back to the portfolio sheet. I get the shares now. So now you can see here, I'm getting the shares. I copy the shares, go back to the sheet, and I select row to paste data again. Oh, I pasted in the shares already using this method right here. Range D because it's column D, and row to paste data. Then I do the same thing I did before. I put the symbol and security name in. I select that range right there. I select it. I use this fill down method. So now I'm going to use fill down to populate these cells right here. They're populated now. Notice that fill down method starts at the row you pasted the data, which was 255, and it goes all the way down right here using that end XL down again, right? And then we do the same thing for the other bits of data, the portfolio name, and now we're back on the portfolio sheet. So now we just did 2 rows, right? So if we go all the way down, we have all this data from security B. Just to show you. There's security B, and it goes all the way down. All this data, we have 2 rows. So now let me just run this macro, and you could see what it's doing. It's what it's going to do. So it's going row by row 78 times. It's taking the date range and it's taking the shares, that range, and it's pasting it one below the next one. And then it's using autofill to throw some data into some cells and autofill them down. So this does not take 780 seconds like the first code did. It does take some time, but Okay, so it's done. I mean, that took a while, right? But it's a lot faster than the first bit of code. I know if you watch the other video, I didn't even run the first bit of code because it's so slow. You know, it takes a few minutes. That code there, I don't know how long that was. Maybe 30 seconds, 20 seconds, or I don't know. But it's a lot faster than the first method. So here was the first method. Here's the second method. They give the same result, but one is, I don't know, 4 or 5 times faster. So if I just show you, this goes all the way down until, you know, QQ. And it's 17,000 rows of data that you are getting from this worksheet here, and the last one is QQ. So that's the big difference with this video and this method of transposing data. I wanted to show you it because it is faster than using 2 loops to copy each cell individually, right? Like I did in the first video. If you didn't watch that video, go watch it because it might teach you things that you don't want to do. So that's it for this video. This workbook here I'm going to put on the website, and it contains 2 subroutines. The one that takes a lot of time to run, this one here, called transpose using 2 loops, and it contains this one here called transpose using copy. I'm going to put this on the website. You could download it and you can take a look and play around with it. You can change it. You can do whatever you want. So that's it for this video. Remember, go to excelvbasequel.com, watch all the videos, learn some stuff. Let me know if you have questions, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.